Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Before we begin, I want you to pause for a moment and think about this past week. Think about the worries you carried, the moments you felt weak, the times you wished for a fresh start, a little hope, a moment of peace. What if I told you that Allah already gave you that moment? What if I told you that every single week there is a day filled with mercy so deep, forgiveness so vast, and blessings so endless that if you truly understood it, you would never let a single Friday pass without transforming your life? Today, I want to take you on a journey into a day that is not just a date on the calendar, but a door to renewal. A day when your dua carries more power, your heart receives more light, and your soul finds the rest it has been searching for. A day that Allah honored, angels witness, and believers cherish. A day known as Jummah, the day of endless barakah forgiveness. Stay with me, because what you are about to hear may change the way you look at Fridays forever. By the end of this talk, you will see Jummah not as a routine, but as a lifeline. Not as a weekly obligation, but as a weekly miracle. If you have ever felt spiritually tired, if you have ever wished for a chance to start fresh, if you have ever needed Allah's mercy more than anything else, this message is for you, and I promise you, you'll want to hear every word until the end. Jummah is a weekly gift of renewal, carries a profound meaning that goes far beyond simply attending a Friday prayer. To understand it deeply, we must look at how Allah designed this day as a spiritual reset, a weekly rebirth for the heart, mind, and soul. Every human being moves through the week accumulating emotional burdens, stress, sins, distractions, and moments of negligence. We strive, we worry, we chase goals, we deal with people, we fall, we get up, and we repeat. In this cycle, the heart easily becomes heavy, the mind becomes cluttered, and the soul becomes distant from the one who created it. This is why Jummah is not just recommended, it is a divine mercy sent every 7 days to revive the believer from within. When we say Jummah is a weekly gift of renewal, it means Allah has gifted you an opportunity to spiritually restart without waiting months or years. It is like a door that opens again and again, no matter how many times you feel you have failed. Allah could have made worship only annual, like Ramadan. He could have made the major opportunities for forgiveness rare, but in His mercy, He gave us Jummah every week, so that the believer never feels too far, too late, or too broken to return. Jummah renews the heart through worship. When you stand in the Jummah prayer, listening to the khutbah, reflecting on the verses of Allah, your heart begins to soften. The worries of the past week calm down. The mistakes that felt too heavy begin to lighten. The soul, which might have been drowning in noise, distractions, and dunya, suddenly breathes again. Allah brings you back to remembrance, and remembrance brings peace. It is a renewal of faith, reminding you that no matter what the world demands, your connection with Allah remains the center of your existence. Jummah renews your identity as a Muslim. It pulls you back from worldly labels, employee, student, business person, parent, and reminds you of the most honorable identity, the servant of Allah. You are reminded that your purpose is higher than tasks and routines. You are reminded that your life is not measured by deadlines or achievements, but by sincerity, righteousness, and closeness to Allah. This clarity itself becomes a source of tranquility and strength. Jummah renews your intentions. Many times we start the week with good intentions but lose track as life gets busy. Jummah gives you a moment to pause and realign your direction. You ask yourself, am I still living for Allah? Are my actions pleasing to Him? Are my priorities balanced? It becomes a checkpoint for the soul, allowing you to adjust your course before the heart drifts too far. Jummah renews your relationship with Allah through forgiveness. Every week, Allah offers you a chance to wipe away sins that accumulated through forgetfulness, weakness, or moments of error. From one Jummah to the next, sins are forgiven for those who observe it properly. This cleansing is not symbolic, it is real, and it has a direct impact on the purity of the heart. Imagine carrying a heavy load on your back all week and then having it lifted effortlessly every Friday. This is the gift of renewal. Jummah also renews your spiritual energy for the coming days. Just as the body needs rest and nourishment, the soul needs spiritual nourishment. Without this renewal, the heart becomes dry and faith becomes mechanical. Jummah injects life into the believer's spirit, strengthening patience, increasing gratitude, and deepening trust in Allah. It sends you back into the week stronger, calmer, and more centered. When understood this way, Jummah is not merely a ritual. It is a lifeline, a mercy, and a weekly reminder that no matter what you faced or how much you struggled, Allah invites you every Friday to begin again. The power of dua and seeking forgiveness on Jummah reminds us that this blessed day carries a spiritual weight unlike any other weekday. It is not only a day of worship, but a day when the gates of acceptance and mercy are opened in extraordinary ways. Every believer, whether strong in faith or struggling, is invited to use this day to speak directly to Allah with a sense of hope, trust, and deep humility. Jummah is the day when your words are not ordinary. They rise with more purity, more sincerity, and more likelihood of being accepted. The best part is that Allah Himself has made this day special by placing within it a moment, an hour, hidden among the day's time, during which any sincere dua made by a believer is accepted without doubt. This hidden moment pushes the believer to stay connected to Allah throughout the day, asking, seeking, begging, and hoping. When we make dua on Jummah, we are not simply requesting things, we are admitting our helplessness before the one who holds all power, recognizing His mercy, His generosity, and His closeness to us. Dua on Jummah becomes a form of worship that cleans the heart from pride and fills it with reliance on Allah. It reminds the believer that solutions do not come from people, money, or status, but from the one who says, be, and it is. This mindset itself becomes a spiritual cleansing, because a heart attached to Allah finds peace, while a heart leaning on worldly means remains anxious and unstable. Jummah dua therefore strengthens tawakkul, renews sincerity, and brings clarity to a confused or burdened soul. Seeking forgiveness on Jummah is equally powerful. Throughout the week, knowingly or unknowingly, we commit sins. Some sins are on our tongue, some in our actions, some in our thoughts, some in our habits. Many times we do not even notice the weight of these sins until the heart begins to feel heavy, the mind becomes restless, or the soul feels distant from Allah. Jummah is the day when Allah offers the believer a chance to unburden that soul completely. The act of saying astaghfirullah with genuine remorse becomes a key to unlocking inner peace. When a believer sincerely seeks forgiveness, Allah replaces darkness with light, hardness with softness, and guilt with tranquility. Jummah magnifies this effect. It becomes the weekly opportunity to repent, reform, and refresh the heart. The beauty of Jummah's forgiveness is that it is not restricted to the major rituals only. Even the smallest actions done with sincerity, sending salawat, remembering Allah, reciting Quran, and avoiding sins become means of wiping away what has accumulated. The very intention to return to Allah is honored. A person who feels lost can find hope, and someone who feels spiritually low can rise again. Jummah creates a balance in the believer's life. No matter how many mistakes happen during the week, there is always a guaranteed return point to redemption. This prevents despair, which is one of Shaitan's strongest traps. The believer's connection to Allah on Jummah becomes deeper because dua and istighfar soften the heart. A heart that makes dua regularly becomes humble, compassionate, and spiritually alive. A heart that seeks forgiveness consistently becomes pure, illuminated, and receptive to guidance. Jummah nurtures both of these qualities. It gives the believer a chance to ask for everything: health, protection, blessings, success, guidance, and to clean the heart from everything harmful, sins, guilt, arrogance, heedlessness. Jummah's power lies in consistency. Each week you are given a sacred space to rebuild, refresh, and reconnect through dua and forgiveness. This rhythm of spiritual returning keeps the heart alive, hopeful, and anchored in the mercy of Allah. Jummah reminds us of our purpose, highlights one of the most transformative aspects of this blessed day. Human beings naturally get absorbed into the flow of life. Work, responsibilities, studies, family matters, ambitions, and struggles all compete for attention. By the middle of the week, many hearts drift into distraction, many minds become consumed by worldly concerns, and many souls become distant from what truly matters. Jummah arrives as a gentle but powerful reminder that life is not only about running, achieving, earning, or surviving. Life is about connecting with Allah, living with intention, and preparing for the eternal life that follows this temporary one. When Jummah comes, it breaks the routine of the week. It interrupts the pattern of constant busyness and calls the believer to pause and reflect. This pause itself is an act of mercy. Jummah realigns the believer with the foundational truths of faith, that Allah created us with purpose, that we are accountable for our actions, and that every moment in this life is part of a journey toward the next. Even the mandatory acts of Jummah, such as attending the khutbah and prayer, serve as a weekly reminder that Allah is at the center of our existence. Sitting in the masjid, listening to words of guidance, hearing the recitation of Quran, and standing in prayer bring the heart back to its original direction, toward its creator. Jummah reminds the believer that their purpose is higher than worldly success. It teaches that true success is not measured by wealth or achievements, but by sincerity, righteousness, and how close one is to Allah. As the khutbah speaks about faith, character, patience, gratitude, or guidance, the heart awakens to priorities that might have been buried under daily demands. The reminders heard on Jummah often become the reason a person lets go of a harmful habit, begins a good deed, or returns to Allah after a period of negligence. This is because Jummah speaks directly to the soul and reshapes the believer's perspective. Jummah also reminds us of the Day of Judgment. The weekly gathering of believers standing shoulder to shoulder mirrors the gathering of humanity before Allah. The stillness, the humility, and the calmness of Jummah prayer reflect the reality that one day everything will stop and every soul will return to its Lord. This reminder strengthens accountability. It encourages the believer to reflect not only on what they did this week, but why they did it. It pushes them to examine their intentions, purify their actions, and strive to improve. The renewal of purpose on Jummah is not meant to be harsh or frightening. It is meant to inspire hope and direction. It reassures the believer that no matter how distracted they were, they can always turn back. No matter how weak their worship was, Allah still invites them. No matter how far they drifted, the door is always open. Jummah becomes a weekly anchor that prevents the heart from drowning in the waves of the dunya. It gives the believer a chance to step back and ask themselves, am I living for Allah? Are my choices aligned with my values? Am I moving closer to my akhirah or further from it? This reminder of purpose brings peace. It lifts a person out of the chaos of worldly concerns and grounds them in something timeless. It helps them navigate life with clarity, knowing that every action, every intention, and every moment can become an act of worship when done for Allah. Jummah does not remove problems, but it gives them meaning. It does not erase responsibilities, but it brings barakah into them. It does not eliminate hardships, but it strengthens resilience by reminding the believer not to lose sight of the eternal destination. In this way, Jummah becomes a weekly compass, redirecting the believer's heart, sharpening their focus, and elevating their purpose. Reward, barakah, and spiritual elevation captures the essence of why Jummah is not only a blessed day, but a day that carries spiritual consequences extending far beyond its hours. Jummah is a day when the believer's actions weigh heavier on the scale. A simple good deed becomes multiplied. An act of worship gains extra reward, and a sincere moment of remembrance brings a wave of tranquility to the heart. Allah chose this day, above all others, as a weekly celebration for the Ummah, an Eid that returns every 7 days, and with it comes extraordinary barakah. Barakah is not just blessings, it is divine increase, divine ease, divine expansion. It is when little becomes much, when difficulty becomes manageable, when time feels spacious, and when the heart feels satisfied. Jummah invites the believer into this atmosphere of divine abundance. From the morning of Jummah, the angels record the names of those who come early to the prayer. Every step toward the masjid becomes rewarded. Even preparing for Jummah, bathing, wearing clean clothes, reciting Quran, sending salawat, becomes acts of worship that earn reward in ways the believer may not even notice. Jummah magnifies small acts and turns them into mountains of good deeds. For someone who feels they haven't done enough throughout the week, this day becomes a chance to catch up spiritually. Allah, in His generosity, gives a weekly opportunity for believers to rise in ranks, to be purified, and to be honored through simple, sincere acts. Barakah on Jummah also appears in the heart. Many people experience emotional heaviness or spiritual dullness during the week. Jummah brings a wave of softness and clarity. Listening to the khutbah brings understanding. Standing in prayer brings humility. Reciting Surah Kahf brings light. Making dua brings calmness. These are not ordinary feelings, they are signs of spiritual elevation. The believer's heart becomes more attached to Allah, more aware of the akhirah, and more mindful of their actions. Even if someone feels distant from faith, Jummah has the power to pull them closer. One sincere moment on this day can lift a person from spiritual lowliness to spiritual strength. The barakah of Jummah extends to the home. The family that observes this day together experiences more unity, more peace, and more mercy. When salawat fills the home, when Quran is recited, when forgiveness is sought, the atmosphere becomes blessed. Jummah teaches households to pause their worldly rush and remember Allah together. This shared remembrance plants seeds of barakah in relationships, in conversations, and in the overall environment of the home. Beyond personal spirituality, Jummah elevates the believer's standing with Allah. Consistent worship on this day makes the heart more disciplined and more spiritually awake. Over time, Jummah becomes not just a day of worship, but a source of identity. A believer who honors Jummah regularly gains a heart that is softer, more patient, more grateful, and more connected to the divine. Spiritual elevation is not measured by outward achievements, but by how much the heart grows in sincerity and humility. Jummah nurtures this growth. Another form of elevation comes from the forgiveness tied to Jummah. Sins committed during the week are erased from one Jummah to the next for those who guard this day with sincerity. Being freed from sins lifts the soul. A heart cleansed of its burdens rises closer to Allah, feels lighter in worship, and experiences deeper tranquility. This forgiveness is itself a form of barakah, because nothing weighs heavier on the soul than sins, and nothing frees it more than Allah's mercy. Jummah also elevates the believer's week. A person who begins their weekend with worship, remembrance, and renewal carries barakah into the days ahead. Plans flow smoother, worries feel lighter, and decisions become clearer. This is the unseen gift of a blessed day. It impacts everything that follows. Jummah is a spiritual investment that pays dividends in peace, clarity, reward, and divine closeness. In this way, Jummah becomes a weekly ladder. Every Friday gives the believer a chance to climb one step closer to Allah, to expand their blessings, and to purify their life through reward, barakah, and spiritual elevation. As we reflect on the blessings of Jummah, we realize that this day is far more than a weekly habit or a routine prayer. It is a divine appointment, a weekly invitation from Allah to return, renew, and rise. Jummah reminds us that no matter how busy life becomes, our hearts belong to the one who created them. It offers us renewal when we feel drained, forgiveness when we feel burdened, clarity when we feel lost, and barakah when we feel overwhelmed. Every Friday carries within it a chance to restart our journey toward Allah with sincerity, humility, and hope. If we honor this day, live its teachings, and carry its light into the rest of the week, then Jummah becomes not just a day, but a source of strength, peace, and transformation for our entire lives. May we never take this sacred gift for granted, and may every Jummah draw us closer to Allah, purify our hearts, and elevate our souls. Thank you for giving your time, your heart, and your attention to this message. May Allah bless every step you take toward Him, fill your life with barakah, and open doors of ease, guidance, and mercy for you and your loved ones. I wish you success in this life and the next, clarity in your decisions, peace in your heart, and blessings in every Jummah to come. Good luck on your journey, and Jazakallah khair for listening.